Hey guys, what's up? It's 8-Bit Eric, and puzzle games that utilize the Nintendo Switch are becoming more and more of a thing, and one of them actually was out a few years ago on Steam and is coming to other platforms including the Nintendo Switch. It is called The Bridge. Now right off the bat you can compare the art style and the whole way that it looks to those MC Escher, if I'm pronouncing it right. I'm not artistically, culturally refined, but you know, the infamous stairways painting is a big, I guess, concept behind the gameplay mechanics of this game. I'm going to be reviewing the Switch version, of course. Let's go ahead and see if it is worth the price. Alright, so as I mentioned, The Bridge is kind of like a psychological puzzle game. It has a really neat aesthetic that is hand-drawn, pencil-like, black and white, sketch type of thing. It looks really neat. I've not seen this done in too many games. That is one of the things that attracted me the most to this game. The aesthetics of it just look really good. It's really nice to look at, and it just has a psychological feel to it that just really, it feels eerie but relaxing all at the same time. It's like a real life and art that you're watching combined at the same time. There's a lot of references to other things on here, but the main thing that I noticed is it's based a lot off of the MC Escher paintings that I've mentioned, and those are always kind of trippy as well. So I guess the whole concept behind the aesthetics of this game is that it's supposed to be kind of trippy. Now, the game starts off with a simple tutorial that teaches you the mechanics of the game by having an apple drop down on your protagonist. This protagonist is kind of like a weird art guy who kind of lives alone, stuff like that. There's not much of a story. There is a story that is told through a few cutscenes between puzzles in the game, but I'm not really going to talk about that. I think this game is a lot less narrative based than it is puzzle based. The main focus of the game is how the puzzles are accomplished. To do this, you have to rotate the screen in order to maneuver your character and items and obstacles out of the way to make it to the exit on the stage. Now, initially, there's 24 levels of this game, and they actually are designed really well. At times, they'll be really simple to solve. It's just a matter of maneuvering your character enough to get to the exit. There's also later stages where you have to get keys, and you have to make your way to the exit after finding a key. There's sliding doors. There's big, scary looking balls that actually can squish you, and at times you have to figure out what the best method to rotating the screen and moving your character at the same time is. But this is all done in a physics-based type of engine, which is actually surprisingly pretty good. It is a little sluggish and slow at times, but I think that adds to the challenge because you gotta build momentum in order for your character and objects to move certain ways or around certain corners and stuff. Your character can't jump. So you gotta time your character's momentum like on a downward hill just right to make sure he's able to clear certain gaps and rotate the screen so you can land these falls. So the no jumping makes it a lot harder. As I mentioned, some of the puzzles don't take much time to solve, but there are some later on that actually are pretty creative, where you have to actually move an item itself, such as the key, around the whole level to your character. There's nothing that I've played like this. I have heard that Braid is a game that is actually similar to this, but in my opinion, the character is not as easy to maneuver as a character in that game, and you're not able to pick up objects, and it uses a lot more focus on the physics and momentum of this game. I mean, the publisher of this game is like the Quantum Physicists Guild, the Quantum Astrophysicist Guild or something like that, which that alone told me this game was going to be a real treat when I picked it up, because it's different. It's like nothing I've ever played, and I know I'm easily impressed at times, but The Bridge on the Switch alone is actually, in my opinion, a really good get, especially because the controls are so easy to pick up and play, and this is a very perfect game to take anywhere with you. After you beat the first 24 levels, you unlock an additional 24, which that makes it up to 48. So there's a lot of time where you can sit down and play a couple stages or whatever. The default controls have you using the shoulder buttons to rotate the screen. The default controls have you using the rear shoulder buttons in order to rotate the screen. Use the analog stick to move your character. So it's very simple enough to pick up. If you mess up on a puzzle, there's an interesting reverse time mechanic they can do by holding B, and it'll reverse your steps. You can actually do this for the whole level, and I found myself having to do this on some of the harder stages. I thought that was kind of neat that you're able to just reverse time or whatever. As I mentioned, this comes in handy when dealing with levels that have a lot of obstacles. There's like vortexes, the big scary balls, things like that. So if you find yourself stuck on a level, just use the reverse mechanism time and you should be okay. Now, with the Nintendo Switch, there's also tilt controls that work really good when you're playing this portably. You can just tilt the screen of the Nintendo Switch and the stage will actually rotate, and it works rather well. I was afraid that the calibration wouldn't be too, I guess, precise, but it's actually rather good. I personally don't really like motion controls when it comes to certain games, but I felt that the bridge had them pretty optimized and precise, and it actually works really good portably. This game suffers from no lag, no, I guess, drops in visuals when you dock it or undock it. There's no difference in performance from what I personally can tell. The game is rather short. There's about 4 chapters in the story with like a handful of levels each, so you can complete this game in a couple of hours. But it did pass the time while I was initially playing it. It was a little addictive, and it's a game that you could play over and over again. There might not be much in way of replayability or replay value after you do complete the game, which can concern you because it is $9.99 in the eShop. That's not too incredibly high priced, but for what you get, there's probably games that are about the same price, if not a little bit more, that feature a lot more content. But if you're really into stuff like puzzle games and stuff like this, you could possibly have some fun with this. I know I'm not really into puzzles, and I particularly enjoyed the bridge. Overall, I felt utilizing the Nintendo Switch's capability, the port of the bridge on the Switch was really well done, and it's a not too high of a price, not a lot of content, but the aesthetics and the overall charm of the game are very well presented. This is a very well made game. If you're into puzzles, you might like it. If you prefer actual puzzle games like blocks and stuff like Tetris and all that, you might not like it so much. But if you're into quirky indie games that kind of fallen under the radar, the bridge is actually by definition one of those games, and I could recommend it. You can probably get it a lot cheaper on Steam. There is, however, as of this video, a sale for the bridge in the Nintendo eShop, so it might be actually cheaper by the time you watch this. $9.99 ain't that much expensive to begin with. So yeah, the bridge, not a bad game. Alright guys, so that's it for today's video. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit that sub button if you're new to the channel. Comment below and smash that like. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot.